Social work in America is a growing field, and a lot of people are involved in it. But as the country's population continues to grow, more workers are going to be needed to help with children and family social work. As you can see on the screen, in all, about 16% of the country's 500,000 social workers work in child services, while 12% work in family services. So you can see that there's a large population of social workers in our country, and there's relatively a small amount who work in family services, so more will be needed in the future. According to the National Association of Social Workers, social work as a profession originated over 100 years ago in our country. The first social work class was offered in the summer of 1898 at Columbia University. However, the first documented professional social services program began in Boston in 1905. Family social work, however, does find its roots in the Family Welfare Association of America, established in 1911. So it has been around for a while, helping families in our country. While family social work covers a wide area of people to help, the main ones that I'm going to cover are pregnant women and families, and also just pregnancy issues, battered women, women in rape crisis, foster care participants and the adoption process, teens and children with a focus on adolescents, typically really just the family in general. So we'll be going over most of these and seeing how family social work can help these groups. One of the groups that social workers help that really kind of touched my heart, having just recently had a child, me and my wife had our first child, was how social workers help couples recovering from pregnancy loss. Loss in pregnancy is a devastating issue for a couple, and you can imagine that never having to wait for a child so long and then having that child pass away takes its toll on the heart, the body, and the mind of a couple. Many families split up after the loss of pregnancy, so social workers can step in and help the couple to try to put the pieces back together and help them realize how they're going to continue on from their life now. On this slide, you can see some of the ways in which social workers help couples recover from pregnancy loss. And some of those include examining unhelpful beliefs and behaviors, supporting the couple's efforts to share emotional tasks of grieving and recovery. And instead of just reading all of them, one that really I think is very important of them is the fourth one, normalizing grieving and giving couples a roadmap of what to expect in terms of reactions for themselves and others. It's going to be very important for this couple to understand that this is not something that should derail their entire life, but something that they're going to have to work with, something that's going to affect them the rest of their life. And by having a roadmap of what's going to happen, what's going to come, that might be able to help them to see that they can have a normal life again, which goes to that last one where it says supporting the couple's efforts to resume a normal life, restoring fun activities together, pursuing conception or adoption options in new directions. Family social workers can really help a couple who has had pregnancy loss to get back and get back to life. Pregnancy can be a wonderful time for a couple, but can also be a trying time as well. My wife and I have recently had our first child, and I can attest that pregnancy for us was a roller coaster experience for both of us. Of course, my wife a little bit more than myself. Mostly pregnancies and the birth of a baby is a joyous occasion, but unfortunately there are those times when circumstances cause pregnancy and birth to take on a less joyous time. One of the occasions can be when a woman who is pregnant is also suffering from an addiction, which is the article that I was looking at when studying this about a lady who was addicted to drugs during her pregnancy. The baby was born, and of course the baby did have problems. The baby was born addicted to drugs, and there was all kinds of issues surrounding the baby. And one thing that the article pointed out was that this woman who was addicted, she did feel a huge amount of guilt when she sees how her child is now struggling. And this social worker, Miss Castellini, she is talking about this woman and trying to find a way to help her to move forward from where she is at. In this slide, you can see how Miss Castellini was helping the woman, and she just gives a quote here where it says, "Just as it takes a village to raise a child, so too it seems to take a village to treat a pregnant or postpartum patient with addiction. She needs a whole lot of different things, plenty of support. I'm a clinical social worker, so I'm a therapist, but I'm going to be sure I'm not the only thing she's got, because it's not going to be enough." she understands that she has to help this lady to move past it. And I thought one of the good points that it made in the article was talking about how this woman, who in some ways many might feel very angry with, you were on drugs while you were having this child, and in some ways rightfully so, but that she is a victim too, that she now feels a guilt about this, and this is going to be something she's going to be feeling the rest of her life. And in order for her not to go back to the addiction or to use this as a precipitating event that will cause more problems, she needs support from people to try to help her to get through this and to understand what's going on, to understand the circumstances and understand the consequences, but also to move past it so that she might be the better mother for her child. According to the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, 1 in 4 women has experienced domestic violence in her lifetime. Estimates range from 960,000 incidents of violence against a current or former spouse, boyfriend or girlfriend, to 3 million women who are physically abused by their husband or boyfriend per year. This epidemic in our world shows the need for a safe place that women can go to find help. Social workers and agencies are springing up all over the country to try and help women who are experiencing domestic violence. Some of the ways that social workers help those who are experiencing domestic violence are they provide safe houses for women and their children. These are places that are typically open 24 hours a day and are available for women to escape the partner who is abusing them. Unfortunately, many of these issues, there's children involved, and these provide places for children to go to as well so that the women and the children can remove themselves from the harmful situation. Also, counseling help the woman to understand that she does not deserve this, that this is not something that should be normal or something that she should accept. It also goes into a long-term care for certain battered women with such as things as job placement. When they have left their spouse or partner, they may have no job or any way to support themselves. So social workers can help to find them job placement in order to get them a job, in order to find their way and be able to start living a new life. And then also providing child care for the child that might be in this situation. While the mother is going to the job or to try to find help, they can provide child care to help the woman in this situation. 1 out of every 6 American women has been the victim of an attempted or completed rape in her lifetime. 17.7 million American women have been victims of attempted or completed rape. Rape is a scourge in our country, and one that seems to be underestimated or just rightly plain out dismissed by a large number of people. While I was researching this topic, I'll be honest, it was very depressing to see so many websites that were just refuting rape statistics, or in some cases just putting the blame on the victim. So it seems like we just have a culture where rape is just one of these, I won't say acceptable crimes, but it just seems like it's not really that big a deal. And so many of these sites and other comments that were made were just that she deserved it or things of that nature. And this is where social workers can really step in and help fill the gap for these victims of this horrible crime. So many of them don't come out and say that something happened because of the stigma that's attached to it, because of the mentality in so many people that they're going to be blamed for what happened. And so social workers can really step in and become a part of change for this lady and help her to get through the issue of rape. Some of the ways that a social worker helps the victim of rape are, first of all, immediate crisis intervention. This is probably shortly right after the rape has occurred, and this can be a 24-hour thing that they can go to, they can call on, and get immediate help. A lot of that is going to depend on the second thing, which is medical help. Getting the woman, making sure that she is as okay as she can be, that physically she is okay, that any kind of immediate life-threatening condition is taken care of. Also, the social worker can help and support in contacting the police. One of the unfortunate things that goes on, it seems, in rape is that the woman feels it may be her fault or that she deserved it or something of that nature. And so she refuses to contact the police. It may even be just a feeling of disgrace or that, embarrassment of what happened. And so the social worker can step in and help to show that lady that that's something she needs to do and can be a part of it and be an advocate for her as contacting the police. And then, of course, the ongoing counseling that they will do, because this is not going to be an issue that will be handled in a couple of days. This is going to be an ongoing issue that will require counseling for, in a lot of cases, going to be a lifetime. And so social workers can really help in that. All right, let's talk about a little better subject if we can, kind of get off the really negative comment. Unfortunately in our society, abortion is legal and unwanted pregnancies often result in termination of the pregnancy, and adoption has become a saving grace for many kids who might have otherwise been aborted. Social workers play a large part in helping to connect kids with parents who want to raise them and help them to change the condition from an abortion to having the child and having this child be put into foster care and adopted. And understand that, yes, all adoption and foster care is not a great thing. It's not exactly what we wish would happen. But we do understand that adoption and foster care is a lot better than abortion. And so this is a little better subject than what we've been talking about. Some of the ways that social workers help with the adoptive and foster care process is, first and foremost, they are the ones who do the home study for the potential adoptive parents. This is a study that will show the potential adoptive parents, is this something they really want to do? Are they willing to step up to the plate, as it were? Are they willing to do what is necessary for the adoption process? And this helps to make sure that the matching process is good, that children are matched up with people who are going to be compatible with them, who are going to be able to care for the child and are not just doing maybe a handout process or something of that nature. They also take care of the post-placement supervision after the child is placed in the home. The social worker is the one who goes in, who makes sure that everything's working out, and also provides counseling to both the birth and adoptive families. Giving up a child, I can imagine, would be a very hard decision. And while society may, in a way, look down upon that, of course, as Christians, we look and say that's a whole lot better than abortion. The birth parent needs counseling as well as the adoptive to see exactly what's going on. So social workers can help in the adoptive and the foster care process. The teen years are always hard. A teen is changing from being a child to an adult, and the way that they are perceiving the world is changing, their bodies are changing, their relationships to their parents, to their peers are changing. And this is really a topic that's really close to my heart. I served as a youth pastor for 16 years, and you saw so many teens that struggled, and in a lot of ways, many of them struggled. It was the normal teenage struggles of growing up, of changing, of mentally changing from concrete to abstract thinking, things of that nature, new friendships, new schools, and things like that. But you also have those times where teens are going through hardships that are out of the norm, as it were, that affect their development and their family. Family social workers have a great opportunity to step in and to help a struggling teen and their families during this hard time. Some of the ways a social worker can help the struggling teenager is, number one, providing an assessment of the teenagers and the family's needs and strengths. It's good to have an outside advocate sometimes who's being able to look inside the situation, get past the emotion of the situation, and see exactly what the teenager and the family needs. Also, information and about referral to needed programs and services. Sometimes the social worker can show that someone else who is a professional in that area of teenage help needs to be there and can be a part of that. Names of reputable educational advocates and educational consultants. Sometimes a social worker needs to help them just provide education, to be able to understand what's going on as best can happen, and just to provide resources for the parents and the teen to understand kind of what's going on and how they can help. Crisis intervention counseling services, simply just being there and being that part of the counseling process. Ongoing psychotherapy for the teen, the parents, and the family as a whole. Information about important warning signs of teens who are on the downward spiral and the steps needed to get help. They can help to provide that signpost that might help parents to see that something's going on in their teen that they need to take care of right away instead of letting it fester. Adolescent health is a big concern for a lot of things. Their bodies are changing, and the onset of puberty is going on. And just what I want to kind of hit on just a little bit here is how social workers can help adolescent health when it comes to kind of the sexual realm of teenagers. Unfortunately, our society is so big on sex with teens and pushing it on them through movies and TV and everything like that. It just plays right into the fact that their bodies are changing, their sexual desires are being formed. And so social workers can come into the situation to try and help teens and their family make sense of what's going on. This slide contains a quote that was brought about from a social worker talking about youth and the sexual health issue with them. And the reason I brought it on here was just to talk about the last statement that is made, where it says our proactive involvement on the issue is critical to help youths navigate the barrage of conflictual messages about sex, which I'm not really sure if conflictual is a word. But what made me think about it is, as a Christian minister, I could not help but think that this last statement is just a depressing statement. If people would understand that sex is a gift from God and designed to only be engaged in during marriage, then maybe the world would not have such a hard time with sexual issues. It talks about that the youth have to navigate the barrage of conflictual messages about sex. Again, as a Christian minister, I know that there's really only one message about sex, that it's reserved for marriage. And if our culture and our society and our teenagers and our adults would understand that, then we'd have a lot less problems. But it's just such a sad statement that social workers have to have so many different ideas and things about sex, where abstinence is just simply one of the many different methods. So I just saw this statement, and it was just one of these that kind of hit me, and I will get off my soapbox now, and I apologize for that. When one thinks of child welfare services, we think of government agencies coming in the night to take the children away from the parents. We see it on news. We see it in stories of journalistic magazines and stuff where people are taken away and the government has done the wrong thing. It is a scene that disturbs us and saddens us, but there is a lot more to children welfare services than that. And I think something we'll see a different side of it. Some of the services offered by child welfare services are group homes for abused children. Abuse does occur within the home, and there are group homes that child welfare can put children in to keep them safe and to keep them protected. So unfortunately, there is a part of child welfare about taking children away, but there is a lot more to it. There's also provisions for children with birth defects, those who suffer from handicaps and illnesses that can help them. We have a lady in our church who she is 50, but her parents are members of our church, and she has severe birth defects, and she is being taken care of by even child welfare services that has moved into adult welfare. But this was a part that came and really helped this family along, rather than all the negativity that seems to come from child welfare services. Also, they provide help for families that are dealing with alcohol and drug misuse and abuse, sexual abuse in the home, domestic violence, family dysfunction, and mental health and child neglect. One of the things that I kept seeing in the articles that I was looking at was that the child welfare services did not want to take away kids from parents. The social workers kept saying that was not what they wanted. It was something that they wanted their families to overcome, rather than that being the first resort, being the last resort of taking children. And one thing I can say is, again, having served as a youth minister, unfortunately, we have had to call in child services a few times. And each child that we had to do that with, I have to say it was a positive. The child was able to get the help they needed. The family was able to get the help they needed. And fortunately, in each case that we had to contact child services, the child was not having to take from the home, but the problem was exposed, and the problem was taken care of through counseling, through child welfare services. So I know that child welfare services in the social area has a hard time in the public eye, but it's a lot more positive than negative. Now, some of the current issues and concerns within the field that I kept seeing over and over again on the sites and in the books and everything about the family social work that's coming up. The first one was the amount of child welfare that is needed. Children in our country are being neglected and mistreated more than ever. There were 3 million reports of child maltreatment in 2004, which is one of the stats that came out. And many experts believe that this represents only 1/3 of the actual incidents. Many of them go unreported and untalked about. More than 800,000 reports where they reviewed people and asked people, they found that there was a rate of 2.9 children being maltreated per 1,000 children. That may seem like a small number, but 3 out of 1,000, unfortunately, is still too much. And then it talked about how 4 children die from maltreatment every day. A number of them largely undercounted, that this may be something that's not going on. So a big issue is child welfare is not where it should be. A second one is healthcare reform, and I'm not going to talk about. We know there's a lot of debate in our country right now about this. I'm not going to discuss this, but one of the things that it did talk about was that there's 46 million people without health insurance. And as the health insurance is such a costly area that so many people are unable to be able to have health care and are just going with treatments that, they don't get treatments for conditions they have. The number of uninsured children is on the rise and continues to grow. And then also, insurance rates are increasing. For those that even can afford insurance, the cost of insurance is growing up more and more. Another thing that they talked about that is a current issue is that poverty is increasing and the economic injustice is increasing. Poverty is increasing in our country, and people are not being able to hold jobs or even find a job. And so they are having this unfortunate part where they're not able to afford good housing, they're not able to afford good food, they're not able to do these things. And so poverty is becoming a major part of our country that is becoming a problem. And then just the mounting social problems, a lot that stem from poverty and all the other things. Drug use is on the rise. Dropping out of school is on the rise. This was something that surprised me. Over many, many years it was declining, but now dropping out. School people are dropping out of school more and more. The sexual practices are unsafe. Again, it kind of goes back to, the idea that sex is not about marriage. Ineffective parenting. We're having a lot of absentee parenting, a lot of blended families, a lot of times where the children are just being neglected out of the parenting realm. The inability to get or hold a job, the lack of self-care. Again, it goes to that health care and poverty. They can't afford health insurance. They can't afford to take care of themselves. So unfortunately, they just don't care about themselves as far as they just cannot go to the doctor. They can't afford it. And then also suicide is on the rise because of all these things that are going on. The need for social workers is going to be on the rise. There's not a lot out there. Social work is not one of these things where you make a lot of money doing it. And it's going to need a lot of help. And there's going to need to be a lot of people to come aboard in order to help with these issues and these concerns. So what is the future of family social work? What are some of the issues that are affecting it? The first one is the changing family dynamics and demographics. The definition of family is changing. There's no more nuclear family, it seems as though. My wife and I are kind of anachronisms for our society, that I grew up with both my mom and my dad, and she grew up with both her mother and father. And we know that that is an anomaly in today's society. The blended families, single-parent families, and same-sex families now mean that new thoughts and therapies have to be used by the social worker. They just can't continue to do what they used to do. Another thing is the research and advancements in biology and genetics. The increasing knowledge of genetics and knowing the influences of biology are changing the understanding of human development and behavior. There's just going to be a simple, social workers are going to have to know new methods of treatment. No longer is it just, he's an alcoholic because he drinks too much. He's an alcoholic because maybe there is a genetic predisposition for it. And of course, we won't go into the topic of homosexuality and if it's a choice or whatever. But these things are going to come about where people are going to have genetic reasons for things, genetic abnormalities that are going to cause things. And social workers are going to need to be a part of that to see how that goes. Another one is the alternative methods and interventions that are going to be happening. Spirituality, yoga, meditation, energy medicine, holistic healing, and similar activities will be incorporated into treatment. And of course, while I disagree with the energy medicine and these other new age activities, I do think that it is a good thing that social workers are acknowledging that there's a spiritual side to helping people. We are spiritual beings, and I think it is a good thing that social workers are acknowledging that and seeing that that needs to be part of the healing process. Also, another future method that's going to have to be used is the immigration and transnationalism. Social workers will have to work with clients whose immigration status may be an issue and understanding of the English language may be limited. It's going to be one of these issues that they're going to have to work with and seeing about how to work with people, how to, how does confidentiality run when you have someone who is in the country illegally? And then also, again, how do you help somebody when they may not understand exactly what you're saying to them? And also what works for someone in America may not work for someone in Europe. They're going to have to understand culture and seeing how it is different and how they are going to have to work with people to try to get different things going with people. And then finally, technology. Technology is changing everything. Technology is going to be changing the social work. How does the social worker use internet technology to help people? Can this open up new avenues? Can this make social work more accessible to people as far as helping them? So technology will be a major point that starts to change the future of family social work. The remainder of the slideshow will be about my interview with Pregnancy Resource Center founder Becky Smith. I'm in McDonough, Georgia. This is a pregnancy resource center that is just down the road from my church that I serve at. And it is one that helps our community to show women that abortion doesn't have to be the answer. It is a very, very good ministry that she has started. And her story is very compelling, how she came about to start the PRC. So that is going to take up the rest of my slideshow until the very end, which I do have a list of resources that I used in the making of this presentation, and also that were just located on the sites that I saw that I thought would be interesting to put on here. So here is my slideshow, so thank you very much.